Hi, I'm Ryan from the selfinnovationproject.com, and you can make an extra $100 to $1,000 a month flipping furniture.
Oh, very cool. Ryan, thanks so much for joining me. I'm excited to dive into this too. If somebody wants to get into this, where are they sourcing stuff? Where do they go to look for potential profitable furniture flips?
I like to go to garage sales, flea markets, Salvation Armory. Those are the ones you probably heard before. But I also use Craigslist, and my favorite one is Facebook Marketplace. That happens to be my favorite sales channel as well. Marketplace is an untapped channel in all kinds of e-commerce, both local and shipping products that a lot of people aren't using yet.
When you're going
Yeah.
through some of these listings, either walking the stalls at the flea market or looking at these different garage sales, online or offline, is there anything in particular that gets you excited that says, okay, this is worth a second look?
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is furniture from maybe the 70s or 80s, that older style, mid-century looking furniture. I love stuff from the 70s because what I do is paint to look more rustic farmhouse. That's really in nowadays,
Okay.
and it sells extremely well. So it's got to be real wood. The fake wood particle board just does not flip very well. It doesn't come out very well after I refinish it either.
Okay.
And
So the IKEA stuff is a no-go.
yeah, no, people like real wood. It just looks better, and you have more options with that. You get a lot more value in that.
Is there such thing as like brand names in furniture that people would be searching for, like in clothing?
There could be, but I'm not aware of it. Brands is never anything I ever looked at, so not to my knowledge.
Okay. And there you're looking for dressers, table, like any particular type of pieces that you found to work well?
You can do this with anything. However, the bread and butter of what I did was dressers. There's something about dressers, they're big and blocky, so you can get more value. You can also flip it quicker as far as painting it goes. I can paint a dresser, put on 3 coats, do the hardware in like a day, if I'm really sticking to it. And you can sell that, you can flip that for a couple $100. Whereas if you take a smaller, more intricate piece, like I did this wooden rocking chair one time, it took forever to paint that thing because there's so many little,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
intricacies and curves, and so with a rectangle, the dresser, there's a lot less going on. You can get more painting done in a quicker amount of time. So those are what I found to be best. It's quicker to flip, and you get more money for it.
Is there a target acquisition price that you're trying to shoot for, or do you have
Yeah,
a sales price in mind for what it might be worth at the other end?
yeah, $50 or less. When I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace, I'll use the filters. Now they have the filters available, and
Okay.
I'll put a max price at $75. I don't pay 75, but I can talk the seller down to about $50 if they're marked at 75. I've
Okay.
only paid over $50, I think, once or twice. They were for very big, very unique pieces. At a garage sale, you get a lot less options when sourcing, but you can get better prices. So you can get a dresser for 10, 20, $30 even.
Okay.
In fact, one of the few flips that I did with no restoration came from a garage sale. It was just a really unique looking dresser. I think I paid $10 or $20 for it, and I flipped it for about 90. I didn't do anything to it.
Oh,
So
okay. No rehab
that's the,
required.
yeah, that's the beauty of garage sale finds. But my favorite is a marketplace because you can really see what's available and have your pick. So last Sunday morning, I just went and looked on Marketplace, and I found several dressers that I liked. I went out and got 2 of them, just in an hour. So
Okay. Do you have
so
a truck or like a big SUV where you could put these
I
things in the back?
yeah, I do have a truck now. When I first started, I did not. I just borrowed a truck from a family member, and I would
Okay.
source, 5 or 10 pieces over the weekend. And so you don't need a truck to do this. You don't need very much money at all either.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so you go out on the weekend, you find 5 or 10 of these things, line them up in the garage, and then is it kind of like assembly line process, or do you like, now this is my like Picasso moment, and I gotta like really figure out what I'm gonna do to each one to make, if anything, to make this resellable?
Exactly. So I'll take you back to the first time I started doing this. My wife actually refinished our dining room table. I'm actually sitting on it right now. She stained the top a nice deep wood color, painted the bottom legs and chairs white. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool that you're doing that. And she said, yeah, people pay good money for this. And of course, my hustling ears perked up, and I'm like, oh, like how much would they pay for this? And she said, probably $400 or $500 for a dining room table. And it
Wow.
took her like a weekend, maybe a half a week to do all this, just very part time. I'm like, all right, that sounds good. Can you teach me how to do this? And she said, yeah, I will. So I started with dressers because that was the easiest thing. My wife refinished a few of our dressers, and I said, well, I can do this. Let me start with dressers.
Yeah.
And, so as a project, I went out and I got a dresser for about $30. She showed me how to paint it, do the hardware, and I flipped it about 2 days later. I think I listed it for about $150 and it sold within 2 hours.
Wow.
So I started getting hits immediately in Marketplace. And if you've ever sold on Marketplace, you know how it goes. You get a lot of questions. Is it still available? They ask common questions like how many drawers does it have? So I've learned to optimize the listing
Yeah.
with
And you're
that
like, please
information.
look at the picture.
Yeah, yeah. So you really want to optimize your listings with the information, measurements, all that. But that was my first sign that this was a successful little side hustle. So I thought, okay, let me try doing two, in a week and see what that does. Same thing, sold in just hours of being listed. And you kind of figure out where the sweet spot with the price is from there. And it all depends on your geographical area. I'm in Central Florida, so not a very high income earning area of the country. So my pieces sell for about $200, $250. I got 300 for one of them.
Okay.
And you're sourcing for $50. So the margin is excellent on this. But I know of people out in the upper east side of the country, New York, a little higher income areas, they'll sell for double what mine do, $500, even $1,000 sometimes.
Wow.
So even though if you don't live in a really high income earning area, that's fine. You can still do very well with this.
Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit better about, trying, because it's like, well, I've never done this before, but if I can watch YouTube videos to figure out how it's done. And if I got the piece for $30, then it's relatively low risk if I screw it up. It's like, okay, well, it was a practice one, and then we'll go back and do it again. Any must-have tools or supplies aside from the vehicle to be able to transport the stuff?
What's great about the way I restored this furniture is it's that rustic farmhouse look. So the look is a little beat up. So it lends itself to you don't have to be professional to be good at this. It needs to look very old, worn, damaged. I mean, what I'll do is after I paint it, I'll go across and distress it with a sander to make it look even more damaged than what it may have already been. It's a really interesting niche. It's great for amateurs if you've never painted furniture. I had no experience with painting. It's called chalk paint.
Okay.
And a little round paintbrush. It's really good for putting the paint on, and a little sander for distressing.
When you were doing it full time, can you give me a sense of the sales volume and number of items you were moving through on a weekly or monthly basis?
I would have my garage arranged to where I would have like 3 or even 4 pieces kind of around me in like a square or circle. And each piece needs about 3 coats. And each coat takes about an hour or 2 to dry. So I would just go one after the other. While one piece is drying, I'd be painting the other pieces and just do like these circuits basically with this furniture. And I could have 3 pieces painted in a day if I was really focusing on it. When I was doing it full time, I was probably doing 5 or 6 pieces a week, give or take. It's all about how much time you want to put into it. I was starting like at 8 and shut down about 5 or 6. So full time, you kind of do have to focus a lot of time to do it. I actually like this better as a part-time thing, because you can do it whenever you want. And if you want to make an extra $100 or an extra $1,000, it's just how much you want to work on it.
Did you find there was a lot of other buyers or flippers trying to do what you were doing, like competing for marketplace listings or Craigslist listings?
There's a few people in my area doing this, and this is a really important part, is I have the best pictures. And that's what matters the most. It's not your technique or even your profit margin. It's how good are your pictures, because that's the number one thing that sells these pieces. A lot of people, when they were posting these finished pictures, they were taking pictures of the dressers like outside, which is just not good lighting for indoor furniture. We take the pieces into our house and we stage them. We put them in our house where it looks the best. And my wife
Okay.
puts all these little decorative parts on it. And, we're photographers also. So we're very, very big on the visual component of selling these things.
Nice.
We'll take 20 or 30 minutes to stage and photograph it.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I imagine the easiest thing to do will be like, well, yeah, take a picture of it while it's still in the garage with the drop cloth underneath it. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're not doing yourself any favors here. Are you ever able to get inventory for free, like on the Craigslist free section or anything like that?
Yep. Anytime I would go to pick up a piece, occasionally there would be someone saying, "Hey, can you take this piece? I just don't want it anymore." Sometimes it'd be just kind of junk. Other times it'd be a really good find, like a desk or like a bench that I would also use. What I love are bundles. So if people were selling multiple dressers, I could get them for an even better price. I made a contact with a wholesale supplier. They would get furniture through like auctions and estate sales and sell them through like a big warehouse. So I got quite a few pieces from this contact that I made. There's so many ways to source this furniture. There's just a surplus of this used furniture. A lot of times it just gets thrown out. So that's another reason why I'm so fond of this, is because the opportunity is just everywhere. I've never had a problem sourcing or selling. It's just, as much as I want to do it, I can turn it on and make it happen.
Yeah, to make 100 to 200 bucks a piece. And if it's a hobby that you enjoy doing, hanging out in the garage, doing some painting, doing some sanding, it sounds like a pretty lucrative operation there. So very cool. Ryan, thanks for sharing. Again, check him out. It is selfinnovationproject.com. Ryan, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.